I want to get you guys encouraging our audience to think about doing less today, thinking smarter instead of harder for today's In the Gym segment. Jimmy, I'm going to get off the stage for a few minutes. These guys are going to rock and roll. We'll come back and do the community corner and work towards wrapping up the show. All right, you boys, let's rock and roll, guys.
Yeah, so check this out, Marty. I have this kind of analogy that I use with clients to help them understand what it means to do too much versus too little. So basically, the back of your hand, it's tender skin, right? So if you take a piece of sandpaper on this hand and you come up and you go 1, 2, 3, and then you go away and you come back, you keep coming back 1, 2, 3. If that pace of coming back is too rapid, basically you're going to tear that skin up and it's going to start to bleed. Now, if that pace of coming back maintains, you're going to just chew a hole in your hand, meaning you're actually just burning up muscle tissue, so to speak. You're actually become catabolic. Now, if you slow the pace of coming back with the 1, 2, 3, that scab will heal, and basically that scab will turn into a callus. Now you're building. So you have to understand that the 1, 2, 3 and the pace of 1, 2, 3 has to do with the frequency of your workouts and how much you're doing. So the key is you're better off to do a little less because then you're building that callus versus you do a little too much. Now you're eating a hole in your hand. That summarizes how the body is going to either build muscle tissue, basically go catabolic with muscle tissue. Did that make sense to you, brother?
Absolutely, man. So pretty much what Johnny is saying is you go to the gym consistently, right? You habit stack. You put those daily deposits in, or 5 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever your foundation is. You do that consistently. It's better than going intense for 30 days or intense for 2 weeks or intense for 1 day and then you don't go back to the gym for another 5 or 6 days. That's pretty much what Johnny is saying. And when you do these consistent days, you can do maybe, if you don't have a lot of time, you might can get away with 30 or 40 minutes. Right?
Yes.
Doesn't have to be an hour or two. Go ahead, John. What were you about to say?
I was just going to back up what you're saying because the people that are going crazy, they're too intense, and they're going fast for that 30 days, they can't maintain that pace anyway. So all they're doing is putting a hole in their hand, so to speak, and then they get burned out. So they have a bad experience across the board. Versus when you pick a pace that you can maintain, 1, 2, 3, there's some time, the body heals. 1, 2, 3, there's some time. It's not too much. Next thing you know, you're building that callus. And so this is the perfect example of less is more. Now, I love what you said, brother, because not many people actually have the consistency and do too much. That rarely happens. But because all the time is what you said, and that is so key, is that people they start off and they go fucking gangbusters for 30 days, 40 days, and they tear themselves all the shit, and then they don't feel good, and then they quit. That is literally, you can't make a worse choice. That's literally, and unfortunately, and I get it, people get all motivated. You got to realize that. Take that motivation and put it on working on the habits, building the habits, work on the diet, because here's the formula. The formula that works is called work over. That's it.
That's it. Simple.
And you don't have to do that much work when you're doing it on a schedule and you have the consistency. And it's that simple.
And exactly. And then I want to highlight something you said, it might have been last week or a couple weeks ago, where you said you'll pick a day. It's not even every week, but you just obliterate your legs or obliterate your back. You just go crazy. You pick one day to go absolutely insane. And when you're in the gym consistently, you don't have to kill yourself every day. You don't have to be sore every day. You don't have to leave with your cup being empty every day. You can still have a little bit in the tank when you leave. So that's another part. Yep.
And the thing about that is, like, for me, that's something that when I was younger, I used to be able to train harder more often, and I could still recover and do them. So there's that piece of me that loves that. I'm going to just mess myself up. But like you said, it's once in a while, and usually I'm going to take a rest day right after that to make sure that I'm recovered. The whole thing about this is when you put in that consistency, and I guess the thing is this, is in our minds, somehow we connected, and you just hit on this, we connect that we have to walk out of there feeling we got raped by an ape. You know what I mean? No, it's not. You don't want to feel like that because you're not going to want to come back tomorrow. You want to train with the guards that felt good, and I can't wait to come back tomorrow. And like you said, if you empty out your cup, the odds are you're not going to have enough back in your cup tomorrow to want to return. So think of training as more of I want to train to feel good. And once I feel good, I want to just maintain that feeling good. It becomes a way of life for us. Of course, we train for lots of reasons, but one of the primaries because it feels good. It makes me happy. It gives me the hormones that my brain releases that it feels great. And I'm energized. My day is better when I break a sweat. So when you're doing this, think of it from a different perspective. You start to think of it from like, man, I want to train to feel good. Then you don't have to kill yourself to feel good. And it becomes real easy to understand that finding, hey, I can go home a little early if I'm feeling it today. And that's part of what's going to make me feel good tomorrow.
Yep. And we got Lauren's comment. She says, create a schedule of stressing the body on some days and then have them anchored with recovery days. Absolutely. Yep. And you have that program in your mind. Okay, Monday I'm doing this, Tuesday I'm doing this, Wednesday I'm doing this, Thursday I'm doing this. You don't want to be in a constant state of recovery. That absolutely fit presenter. And then another thing I wanted to bring up was the nutrition, and Carl brought it up earlier talking about the Atkins diet and how extreme that was, and now he kind of moderates. He doesn't go that extreme anymore. Another thing, you don't want to go on an extreme diet that you can't maintain for a long time, because if you can't maintain that diet for a long time, you're not going to be able to maintain those results that you got from that extreme diet for a long time.
It's so true, bro. That's so true. If there's one thing that we can help people understand about the whole drill of training and nutrition, it's pick a pace that you can maintain. Once you maintain that, if you want a little more, take a little more. But it's about finding what works for you. Everybody is different. I love to train, but I'm 52 years old. Unfortunately, I don't get to train as much at this age as I could when I was 32 or 22. Yep. But less is more. And at the same time, if I beat myself up too much, I don't feel good. I don't make the gains. I don't make the progress. So that's just remember, everybody's formula is different. You got to continue to understand and listen to your body. But remember, if you keep this one thought in mind, it's going to be a game changer. The formula called work over time. If you subscribe to that, you're going to be just...
I got a question for both of you guys. It's not always about lifting the heaviest weight in the gym. No. It's not always about going to hit the 225 on the bench or the 250 on the bench. Marty, John, lean into this idea of sometimes less weights, more repetition, more focus. Like, tune into this idea that it's not always... I got to hit the 405 on the squat rack. No, actually, maybe you want to hit the 135 on the squat rack and you want to slow your pace down and you want to increase your time under tension. Talk a little bit about this idea of dialing back weight loads.
I could literally speak to that on my last chest day. Is I got in there and I got myself warmed up, and I was really warm. I actually did what you could actually call a pre-exhaust exercise just to make sure that I was really ready to go. And I started doing some dumbbell pressing, and my left shoulder was just, it wasn't letting me have it. I was stretched, I was open, and as I'm doing this, it was just, when I say it wasn't having it, the tweak or the pain, whatever you want to call it, was getting slightly worse, not slightly better. So I had to bail on the dumbbell presses, which I was bummed about, but I just snapped out. Okay, listen, dude, the goal is to walk out there feeling like you got a good workout. So I ended up doing machines for the rest of the day so that I could focus on putting in a good effort without actually making whatever's going on my shoulder worse. I walked out of there feeling like $1 million. Had I been stubborn and stayed there and tried to push through it, I probably wouldn't be doing chest this week.
So that happens for much of us where we become stubborn and push through it. Marty, lean into the same example. Less is more in many occasions.
Yeah, less is definitely more. And just to piggyback on Johnny, your body's going to talk to you, right?
Yes.
So there's a difference between being a bitch and actually being hurt and you can't push through, right? When it's unbearable and you feel like you're about to injure yourself, okay, that's a sign you need to do something different, all right?
Being a bitch is not showing up.
There you go.
It's true.
Exactly. No, exactly. So, don't listen to that bitch voice.
Yeah.
Simple.
And get after it when you can. So, and make adjustments as you have to. And it's funny, Johnny, here he's commenting with the machines, because didn't we talk yesterday? Machines are wrecking the gyms.
Oh yeah,
when it comes down to it, like on a dumbbell incline press or a dumbbell, say, flat press, you're not using a ton of core, but you are using some core. What people really got, where they really run to the machines is the leg stuff. And the leg stuff is where your core really, or the overhead stuff. Even if you're doing there are some machines, even with overhead, you're still going to work your core. So you got to think of some of these movements that you just got to keep in. But yeah, when it comes down to it, the way I look at it is the machine is that thing that you use when you just fall back to getting the work done because you can't use the free weight. That's the way I look at it.
There you go. All right, in the gym with John and Marty, the segment we drop every day at 9:15 Eastern time. Content and conversation to help you guys get fit in the gym with expert advice from these two guys who drop it every single day. Guys, I think we're going to wrap up the show here.